What's up, everybody? We've got ACC baseball right around the corner. Going to give you our favorite picks and predictions. We're also going to talk a little bit about the NBA draft, a little big board action. Shout out to our man, Rafael Barlow. Listen, is NC State in a lot of trouble? Because I want to know if Dereon Seabron and Terquavion Smith do not come back, what will it mean for the pack? More importantly, how could so many people say Terquavion and my guy Dereon Seabron were good, and they stunk so bad this season? We've got Kenton Gibbs on the show to have that conversation today.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. Finally, we've got a decent mic. We have a good camera. We are ready to rock and roll. I'm so sorry for all the last week's craziness. New location, new vibes, but we making it work. We make it do what it do. I'm so appreciative of the folks who pained through those 30 minutes, all the choppiness. I heard you. I heard it myself. I wish I could have re-recorded all those episodes, but money is time and time is money, as we know. Kenton Gibbs is joining the show from Locked On Wolfpack, per usual on this Monday episode. Kenton, how are you feeling?
I'm great as always. I can't really complain. Every day standing up vertical and above 6 feet is good for me. So, I can't complain. Everything is everything.
Do you notice anything different about me?
Your hair?
Gosh, usually men are first to compliment, something new about a woman, but, just pro tip next time.
Oh, okay. Noted. I'll take that into account from now on with my old lady. I got to make sure I see your hair before anything else.
1,003%. All right, guys, we have a lot to go over on today's show, but first up, we don't want to leave out one of our favorite sports here. Baseball is in full swing. See what I did there? All right, we are going to have a Tuesday kickoff. So tomorrow, you're going to see your favorite ACC teams in action, and Virginia Tech sitting at the top spot. But after all of this pool play, it'll be interesting to see who comes down as the winners. So Tuesday kicks off with Pitt and Georgia Tech at the 11 a.m. slot, followed by NC State and Wake Forest at 3 p.m. And then you've got Clemson and North Carolina on 7 p.m. on Tuesday. So out of all those games, there's going to be a long one. First of all, can we just start? I love baseball like the next person. I enjoy a good game, a good hot dog, all of that. Shout out to the Durham Bulls for the great experience. But those games be long as hell. I ain't gonna hold nobody. Those be the longest games in the world.
They've done Major League Baseball has done a lot to speed up the pace of play. So has the NCAA in certain regards, but baseball is just one of those sports. It's going to take some time. There's a lot of time between action, and even when there is action, I mean, it's not what most people are used to seeing. So, I get it.
1,003%. And as I mentioned, baseball, you've got Virginia Tech sitting at the number one spot, but there are a lot of people vying for the opportunity to get this ACC championship. We saw Duke last season win ACCs, and there's maybe been a bright spot. We also know that NC State is always in the conversation when it comes to baseball and possibly winning the ACC and going on to do big things in the College World Series. So we can start with being a homer here for NC State. How are you feeling about their odds in terms of maybe being an ACC underdog and ultimate favorite?
I don't know about a favorite, but they are going to be an underdog this year. There's been a ton of struggling as far as the fielding has gone for this NC State team, which is uncharacteristic of an Elliott Haven coach team. I get it. They're young. There's a lot of transfers and all that. But at this point in the season, you have no more excuse. Even your youngest of guys have played a ton of baseball this season. So they've got to pick it up. I mean, they've got to clean up their fielding. The errors will be the death of this team. There are some series that they've won where they've committed some erroneous errors, but they were just playing the team that was bad enough to where they could still win. So, that I wouldn't consider them a favorite at all here. If you are, stop living in the past. This ain't last year's team, okay? This just ain't that.
So we don't have to worry about a COVID issue where the team might get a chance to go into play Mississippi State and then things just go left when they're
Worry
supposed
about
to.
yourself.
Okay.
Worry about yourself. It sounds like you got some sniffles going on over there. Worry about yourself, lady.
I was just trying to make it go. Shout out to the pollen out here in North Carolina who was holding your girl down. Now, how the pools are broken down, Virginia Tech, who earned the number 1 seed, will play in the same pool as North Carolina and Clemson. All right, that's Pool A. Then you've got Pool B, which is Louisville, the number 2 seed, playing with Georgia Tech and Pitt. The number 3 seed in Miami will be Pool C, joined by Wake Forest, NC State, while Pool D features Notre Dame, Virginia, and Florida State. Clearly, Pool D might be the hardest just based on rankings when you have number 4, Notre Dame, number 5, Virginia, and number 9, Florida State. I think that will probably give you the most excitement, but, again, leave it to some really good teams trying to vie for their spot and opportunity to be in some great matches. Ultimately, I'm just excited to see some good baseball. I'm no dog in the fight for real because, again, like I say, I watch baseball, but very much a casual fan here. But there's a lot of, future pros, I'm sure, that are trying to give their opportunity and spot in that regard. Now, when it comes to conversations about people trying to make their way to the top, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the NBA draft because 30 days away, the NBA draft will be in full effect, and you will see some of the top ACC guys taking their talents to the next level. Now, when you think about the team that made it the furthest, UNC, they had no guys who are going to be in consideration for this year's NBA draft. They all decided to return, quote unquote, run it back, have that redemption year. So before we get into the NBA draft, let's talk about UNC and running it back and redemption. I personally don't think people understand how hard it is to, 1, run the game at the NCAA tournament, but 2, try and do it twice. What are your thoughts there on UNC's decision to have guys not go into this year's NBA draft? Was it the birds talking to them saying, hey, yeah, you got no shot at NBA, go ahead and get that college experience? Or do you feel like, hey, there might actually be a possibility to win an NCAA championship?
I mean, I don't think that the NCAA championship possibility is a non-factor. I think that these players want to win a championship, but also I think that the vast majority would have been served better by coming back. The only player that I think like him coming back is kind of an admission that he knows, there isn't much of a future for me in NBA is Armando Bacot. You've been there for forever and a day, big time. Go on and go get paid now. Like you're at.
He's in the movie. He be in the TV show on Netflix, Outer Banks. He getting bread.
Yeah, but you're at that point where and this is what I mean when I tell people all the time that as much as folks hate NIL, it's helping these players stay at their universities longer because they know I stand to make more money as a college athlete than I do going out to the league early, underdeveloped, raw. I could potentially be playing for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants next year in the G League. I might not be. I might be somewhere in Istanbul or something like that, somewhere overseas hooping. Like there is so much that is to be gained by the NIL deals doing what they do. And I think that we're seeing that a lot with a lot of these players. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just be honest with ourselves now. The guys who know that they stand to make some real money, nobody has enough to bring them back. Nobody has enough to bring Mark Williams back. Nobody. Nobody has enough to bring Paolo Banchero back. Nobody. And this ain't even a Duke UNC thing. Those are just 2 guys that are going to be off the board within the first 15 names, maybe earlier than that. So, I mean, it's these guys deciding to come back. More power to them. I will never ever root for the boys in baby blue, but more power to them.
Why? What? They're going to be out of the baby blue, so then you can root for them. Like, what kind of sense is that?
Nope, still not doing it. Still not doing it. Even in the NBA, still not doing it. Not doing it. They haven't done my Pistons any type of good. So.
Oh, Lord. Well, I love brownies, but you know what I love more? Brownie batter. Sometimes I eat half the batter just while I'm making the brownies. Imagine if you could lick the brownie spatula clean and get some protein while you're at it. You're in luck because Built has a new creation, and this one is better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. Yes, you heard me right. This puff takes protein bars to a whole new level, and they're available right now on Built.com. Have you tried the Built Puffs yet? I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Puffs are 100% covered in real chocolate. They are a marshmallow protein bar. With 140 calories, 17 grams, and only 7 grams of sugar, Brownie Batter Puffs are the best pick-me-up for any day. The Brownie Batter Puffs will have you completely forgetting that you are eating a protein bar. No need to pinch yourself because this is real life. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and you get 15% off your order. Again, 15% off at Built.com. So we're rocking and rolling here with Kenton Gibbs, and we are making sure that you guys are locked and loaded and ready for this year's NBA draft. You're ready for some baseball action. You're ready for the return of some guys, but this big board. Let's talk about the top 100. Thanks to our friends at NBA Draft.net. We've got some Duke players, and I also want to have a conversation about a couple NC State guys that went a little under the radar given the team's schedule this team's outcome, really results from this past season. And, they're still finding themselves head scratching as I don't know how they could have had such a bad season with such talented guys. But let's talk about Duke first. Paolo Banchero, arguably the number 3 pick here for the NBA draft. I don't know how we're feeling about this because he's above him is Jaden Ivey and Jabari Smith. Did Paolo do enough or not enough during his Duke season to get to the number 3 slot when he gets his name called in about a month here?
I think he's done enough. I think he has. I think that he has the body of a prototypical 4 in today's NBA. So I think that there's definitely something to be said there, something to be had as far as him, showing up and being super explosive, being a guy that's very bouncy. He's a lot of what modern 4s are today. He's a big body, 250 pounds, 6'10", and he can get up and down the floor. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can do a little something out of the post. So I think that the key for him is refining. I think that the key for him is to refine and find go-to moves for him. Like in college, you can get away with, oh, yeah, I'm just more athletic than all these guys and whatever the case may be. In the NBA, everybody's a super athlete. At that point in time, you need go-to moves that you have committed to memory that this is my bread and butter all day. And off that, I got a couple counters that will also work.
Well, I'm just a little bit wondering how people think about his cramping situation because we all know he was one who had to have dang near Pedialyte in an IV every time he suited up, and he would have cramps. He would have losing about 7 pounds, per game, which I wish, no tea, no shade. I'm ready for that playing myself. But I wonder if there's any concerns around that in terms of how he'll survive a hard 82-game NBA schedule.
I mean, there has to be. There has to be some concern about that, which is why I think that he slipped behind some of the guys that he's behind, right? Be it if you think it's Chet Holmgren and Jaden Ivey, or be it if you think it's Jabari Smith, whoever you've got him behind. I mean, for the most part, that has to be one of the reasons, right? So I think that concern is being weighed, but I think that what he brings on the court outweighs it.
100%. Now, next new guy I want to touch on here, of course, we've got my man AJ Griffin, who was silent assassin. He didn't do too much, but when he came in, he made a difference. Either he was going to make a big difference and score like 27 points or night, or he was going to do all right and score like 5. Either way it goes, you knew when he was in the game. Just want to talk about him and your thoughts around AJ Griffin, maybe being the most pro-ready player for that former Duke roster.
The more I watch of AJ Griffin, the more I say, he's pro ready. He's so pro ready. He's a 3-and-D guy off the bat that I think can develop into more. He is a big body, 6'6", 220 pounds. He's built like a tight end, really. But he's just a guy that you look at him and you think his game is going to be a certain thing, and then he comes out and strikes for 40% from deep, which to me, I think in today's game, if you are a good team that's on the precipice to being great, or if you are a good team that has a guy who's the main thing that he does well is drive the ball, Griffin's a guy that you got to look at. He's a guy that you got to think about because you're looking at a really good defender who's going to shoot the ball well, who his offense is not predicated on him having the ball in his hands a ton. You've got to, if you're a team that's got some pieces, but you're just not quite there yet, and you're looking for players who can be great glue guys, he could be one of them.
Honestly, I think I can see him with Milwaukee, because if you think about them needing consistent shooters, I think that's one of the things. And Chris Middleton, of course, his absence was very much felt. And so having someone who could shoot the 3 and defend well would have been very clutch for that team.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I mean, let's be honest. He looks like a stellar athlete, and he is.
Yeah.
He may not be the fastest guy in the world, but he is wildly explosive. So I mean, he's a guy that he's going to give you some really, really good things right away. And I think
Yeah.
that the knock on him is many people believe that he doesn't have the same upside if he's rolling as some of these other guys. Which honestly, I don't know where they're getting that from because I mean, I see him as at his ceiling, a rich man's Draymond Green.
Oh God.
And,
Please don't, wait,
and
wait, wait. No, no, no. No, no, no. Don't do that. Don't do that man that like that. Draymond. I am probably that's probably my least favorite player in the entire National Basketball
I'm not now
Association.
wait a minute. I'm not
He is
saying
just
who he is
blessed
as a
to
person.
have
I'm not
Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. This man talks so much junk for someone who does contributes the least. Okay, never mind. Don't
I'm
even
not
start. Don't even
saying
start.
as a
See?
person. I'm not saying he's going to go
As
back to
a
his college.
player, he's terrible.
I am not even going to address that
Draymond,
blasphemous statement. I'm not even
Draymond
going to address.
Green is good to you?
I'm not going to
What
address the
does he
blasphemy.
do?
I'm not going to
What does
address the.
Draymond Green do makes him
How
a
many
good
all
player?
defensive teams does that man have?
Yeah,
How
if you kick
many?
somebody in the nuts, I'm sure you can play defense well. Yeah, like what? If that's the case, Chris Paul's the best defender ever. Like, what are we doing here?
Again, that
What
man
are
has
we doing here?
multiple all defensive teams while being quote unquote undersized. He is a listen,
A
we're not
dirty.
talking about Draymond.
Okay,
We're not talking
okay,
about Draymond. We're
okay.
talking about
Yeah,
Griffin.
yeah. So find a new comparison. Thank you.
Listen,
Thank
no,
you. Good
that's
night.
gonna be the guy that I
Thank
stick
you.
with because let me tell you
No,
something.
no.
Let me
You
tell you
saw the hair
something.
whip. You saw the
Let me
hair
tell you
whip.
something.
No.
He is a good defender, but again, I think
Oh
that he
my
brings
god.
a lot more offensively than Draymond is going to give you. A lot more.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, if he can develop a handle, if he can develop some court vision, that right there with what he already has, I don't know why everybody thinks that his ceiling is so low. The boy's a bona fide stud.
You should be ashamed of yourself, but it's fine. Last Duke player I want to talk about is Mark Williams, who I said all season was probably the most draft NBA ready because of his size. And then as he got into the season, I said, well, that defense definitely needs a little bit of work, right? I think it's something that you certainly can fine tune, but going to the league was a given. Like there's nothing else he needed to do at Duke.
I think that he is a throwback, a relic of what Biggs used to be. He doesn't have too much of a game outside of 10 feet offensively. Even if you're talking about in close, I mean, I don't think he's the most polished post scorer in this draft or in recent history or memory, rather. But with that being said, I think that he's still a quality guy for what he does.
He's a great blocker.
I think that he could be a lot in the vein of what a young DeAndre Jordan was. You know what I mean? Not that type of leaper, not that type of jumper at all, but he has the size to kind of compensate and make up for that difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's not an Andre Drummond to where he's super active on the boards. He's going to get you 20 rebounds. He's not what Andre Drummond was in his prime. But I think that he is a good rim protector, which many teams could use. Ask the Mavs right now. And with that being said, I think that in an NBA where all the bigs are trying to stretch out and shoot threes, there is an immense amount of value in having guys who can do the actual big work. I mean, look at the Cavs last year and how all of a sudden they were a much better team than everybody thought. Why? Because their bigs played big. That's pretty much it.
But I also think, like, as much in the NBA, as much as we're talking about in this new NBA, every big needs to have a three. Like, do they? Like, I'm okay with guys being fundamentally sound. I'm okay with the Tim Duncans of the world, where you don't have to have the three ball. That's not in your repertoire, but you're damn excellent at, all the other things, right? If you can make one hell of a bank shot, fine. Don't force the issue trying to be everything to everybody. Everybody's not Kevin Durant. Everybody's not Giannis. Like, I get it, but no, I'm good.
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that it's a fault at the least to say that these players need to develop 3-point shots. And one player that I look at when I say that trying to get a 3-point shot ruined this game would definitely be Serge Ibaka. Look at all that he was before he decided, well, I think I'm going to focus in on 3-point shooter. Like he became an all right 3-point shooter, but everything else in his game drastically took a hit because he was not working on it at the same level, or at least that's what the train of thought was when people looked at the way that he played the game as he started to shoot more threes. So with that being said, again, Mark Williams is a throwback. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all to me.
100% agree. All right, guys, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. It's a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you need from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all parts available for your car, truck. Right, locked on in there. How'd you hear about us box so they know we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Please visit rockauto.com. So we're bringing this thing home here, talking about NBA draft, 30 days away. And let's be real about it. There's some NC State guys who are probably not going back to NC State if we, were to put some money on it here. Talking about Terquavion Smith and Dereon Seabron. I'm feeling like after these conversations and the things that have been buzzing, around the scout world, it'll be hard pressed. You'd be hard pressed to find two young men that should take their talents back to Raleigh, North Carolina. I think it's a done deal.
I'll say this. I with Dereon Seabron, I get it. I'm a little bit more understanding of it. Terquavion Smith, not so much. And let me tell you why. I like Terquavion Smith a lot. I think he's a bona fide baller. I think he's a stud. But with that being said, I don't see the reasoning for saying, hey, there's to me, I think that you go to college, you decide to leave when you know there's no more money for me to make. There's no more championships, no more whatever, whatever the thing is that is important to you, right? Legacy, all that good stuff. Hey, if that's what matters to you, that's what matters to you. No shame in that. Doing it for good old state, what matters to you, that's what matters. I don't think there's a single thing that Terquavion Smith can look at and say there is not more of for me to get in Raleigh. If you're talking about money, if you look at what he is now, everybody's talking about, oh, he lit it up. He was one of the best shooters at the combine. He's one of the best shooters. He put up great shots. He did great things. Imagine if you put together a season with that and you show, well, on top of being this great shooter, I have a complete game. Nobody has ever questioned, nobody in Raleigh or even outside of Raleigh has ever questioned, can Terquavion Smith shoot the ball? The question is, when his shot is not falling, can he affect the game positively? If you watch the games from last year where Terquavion Smith struggled from the field, it didn't just, it snowballed into everything. So he started with struggling from the field. Then all of a sudden he's struggling with turnovers. Then all of a sudden he's struggling with fouls. And all of a sudden he's struggling with effort. To me, to come back, and I'm not saying Terquavion Smith got to come back for 2, 3, 4 more years, just 1 year where you show I can affect the game positively outside of this one area. And even if this one area ain't going great, I will not be a net negative for my team because that one area ain't going great. I think that there's more money for him to make. But again, it's his life. If he want to make that decision to go, more power to you. I'll be cheering for you. I'll be rooting for you wherever you go. But to me, there's a lot for him to make by coming back.
Well, the Terquavion front, I feel like I'm wondering if it's a mental preparation issue where, maybe 1 year of maturity under, guidance of a coach that's really trying to make you better as a player would be beneficial for him. But I'm also saying to myself, is Coach Keith going to be that guy that's going to mentally prepare this man, or even physically with this new assistant coaching staff that they're getting, going to prepare this man to get to the next level at an even greater point where he is in the top 3 conversation like Paolo, and there's nothing even more for him to come back for. Like, that's where I say weigh the cost and benefits, because is he going to live a lonely life at 18, 19 years old on the road, still trying to figure himself out, or probably be a two-way player, in the league? Or can he be the man in Raleigh? Can he be the man of the ACC the same way we kind of saw, what's my buddy's name from Wake Forest, come in and really take over, Londez Williams? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like there's more. I agree, and I think that Terquavion needs to come back. I don't necessarily feel the same way for Dereon Seabron. To me, I think Coach Keats held him up a bit. I love Keats. We all know that. I love him. I don't know if he's going to be here after next year, but I love him. Now,
I think Coach Keats absolutely, it wasn't just Coach Keats though, but I think that many factors this season reduced both of their abilities. I mean, the fact that there was no true point guard made Dereon Seabron play out of place and try to play a point guard, which he isn't. He's a slasher. He's a finisher. Yep. That's what he is. He's not a point. He's not a point forward. That's
Not
not his
facilitator. Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
That's a, Terquavion Smith. We saw in the combine, he is amazing in catch and shoot. Well, here's the problem with him being amazing in catch and shoot. The only way that catch and shoot works is if you have somebody who is drawing in a lot of attention and kicking it out. If you have a coach who is drawing up sets to get that player open, and all of a sudden, oh man, he's having the ability to catch and shoot. If there are multiple other weapons on the team to where you have to pay attention to them, our bigs gave precious little. They gave virtually nothing. The wings that were not named Jericho Helms or Dereon Seabron gave nothing. The guards last year, I mean, let's be honest. Everybody talked about all these players transferring out of NC State. There was some addition by subtraction with a lot of these guys. People say Cam Hayes took a step back. No, that man took a quantum leap backwards. Everything that he did in his freshman year, he did it worse this year. Every single statistical category, according to advanced metrics, he did them worse. So, with that being said, the situation that these two were in made it look like they were worse players than they were. But again, Terquavion, I think he needs to come back. Dereon, I understand if he wants to leave. He's been there long enough. He's old enough to where I don't think that there's too much more money for him to get. I think if he comes back and shows a good shooting season, maybe. But he's, from all reports that I'm hearing, he's gone. The chances are slim to none. And Slim only got one pinky toe left in the door. Everything else is gone. Terquavion Smith, however, the chances are a little better, but he's been lighting it up at the combine. And everybody's in his ear, rubbing his shoulders, telling him, "Oh man, you might jump into being a first rounder. One of these championship level teams might get you."
Don't let these people lie to you. Don't let these people lie to you.
Again, after all this shakes out, I think that Keats will do some work in the portal either way. He has the 18th best portal class right now, and I think that he's not done yet. I don't think he's anywhere near done.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out because I do think that Keats has to have a big year. I think if Terquavion does come back, he's going to have a big year. And I think the ACC isn't getting worse. You think about draft classes of UNC and Duke, and especially with that triangle, rivalries that they got going on. It's going to be an interesting conversation about performance-wise from the team in red and white. So a lot to go over and certainly to decipher. But we're wrapping up here. Want to thank Kenton Gibbs for his time as always. If you can please remind these folks of where they can find you and follow your work.
Sure thing. Wherever you're listening to this or watching this, you can find me at Locked On Wolfpack. And you can find me on Twitter at TGIF_Ken.
No doubt about it, guys. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We got more draft conversations. We got more baseball updates for you, and make sure that you just get excited for what the football season will bring because there's some NFL draft prospects over our quarterback classes already lit, but I think the season is going to be very interesting from Atlantic versus Coastal. Could be the last time we see it, so let's have it there. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, until next time.